Good morning and welcome to virtual Sunday worship with us at the First Parish in Framingham. I am the Reverend Aaron Stockwell, Senior Minister, and it is my honor and joy to serve this congregation. I'm so glad that you are here this morning. Please do say hello in the chat if you haven't already. Unitarian Universalism is a faith for all souls. It doesn't matter your skin color, your age, where you came from, who you love, how you move around in the world. It doesn't matter if you're watching this service on a tablet, a smartphone, a TV, a laptop, or a desktop. It doesn't matter if you are watching this in Seattle, Walnut Creek, California, Centerline, Michigan, Holliston, Hopkinton, or just down Edgell Road in the city of Framingham, or perhaps somewhere in between. It doesn't matter if you're watching this live and paying attention to every single word, or if you're listening to this while you're doing the dishes and running errands during the rest of the week. It doesn't matter what your family looks like or how your family is organized or disorganized. What matters is that you are here, watching this service, a part of this community. It matters that you affirm and promote the worth and dignity of all. Wherever you are on life's journey, dear one, you are welcome as a part of this virtual but very real community. If this is your first time visiting us, I'm so glad that you are here. There's a link right below this video where you can fill out a form so we can make sure you get the information that you need. Or you can just email Sarah Morrison-Neal, our office administrator and membership coordinator, at office@uuframingham.org. Please reach out if you need anything, and reach out too if you have strengths or skills to offer. We are all in this together, and together we will help each other through. Of course, if you're watching this service live, immediately following the service will be our Zoom coffee hour. Everyone is encouraged to stay. It'd be so good to see your faces. And we're doing things and organizing things a little bit differently today, so do be sure to watch out for that, including a receiving line where you can chat with me for just a little bit. Dear one, love has held our congregation together since 1701. It is a love larger than any walls or screens. So welcome to First Parish in Framingham. Our opening hymn today is a little bit of an unusual one that deserves a little bit of introduction. Now, it was a favorite hymn of the congregation I served in Lawrence, Kansas. The language and the poetry of it is fascinating, spinning together evolution, science, God, and Jesus. It was partially a favorite of that congregation because the author of the words, Robert Caruth, had been a president of a previous congregation, a previous UU congregation in Lawrence. He'd also been, I think, a professor of poetry at the University of Kansas. Let's sing A Fire Mist and a Planet.
Starfish and a saurian, and caves where ancients dwelled. The sense of law and beauty, a face turned from the sword. Some call it evolution, and others call it God. Is on the far horizon, the infinite tender sky, the ripe rich tints of cornfields and wild he's sailing high. And over high and lowland, the charm of goldenrod. Some people call it autumn, and others call it God. Like tides on crescent sea beach, when moon so new and thin, into our hearts high yearnings come welling, surging in. Come from the mystic ocean, whose rim no foot has trod. Some people call it longing, and others call it God. A century lone and frozen, a mother's star for brood, and Socrates' dread hemlock, and Jesus on the rood, and millions who, though nameless, the straight hard pathway trod. Some call it consecration, and others call it God.
During these times when we are apart, it is crucial that we have rituals that we do at the same time. The lighting of the chalice or candles is a Unitarian Universalist tradition. It symbolizes hope and truth. Our chalice lighting today comes from the closing words from The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. There is grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers having been originally breathed into a few forms or into one. And that whilst the planet has gone cycling on according to the fixed law of gravity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful have been and are being evolved. As I light the chalice in our sanctuary, and the children of our congregation light their candles, I invite you too to perform this ritual or another one in your home. Once your flame is lit, I invite you to type into the chat, "The chalice is lit in our home," or "The chalice is lit in my home."
Love is the doctrine of our church, the quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
Today we are going to explore nature right here behind First Parish in Framingham. I've got my helper here, Abigail, this morning, and we are going to be looking for patterns in nature. So Abigail, tell me, do you see any patterns in nature around you?
I sort of noticed
Stripes here on the bark? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed them too. How do they make you feel?
Sort of funny.
Funny? Tell me more.
They're like little. They're in sort of waves.
They're wavy. How would your body move to be like the bark? Little wavy bark. Should we go on the hunt?
Yes.
All right, join us. Here we go. What do you notice here? Here, turn around for a sec. What do you notice?
There's little polka dots around.
Oh, polka dots. Take a look at that.
I think it's probably from the snow making like that.
From the snow melting.
Or
How would your
maybe-
body move for snow melting? Right down onto the ground?
Yeah.
I like it. All right, let's keep following. Woo!
Ah,
It's a snowy day here today. Wow, check it out. Oh, just noticed something.
yeah.
See this pattern?
Yeah, they're like stripes going this way and this way, guys.
Stripes, diagonal stripes.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty
And you
cool.
can sort of see polka dots too.
And polka dots too? How would your body move to be the leaf? Woo! It's a jumpy leaf. I love it. All right, so we got our jumpy leaf pattern. Here we go. Where else are we going to see?
I sort of see something over there.
Over there?
Yeah, it's like stripes going in different ways.
Stripes going in different ways. Are you talking about the leaves up on the tree?
Yeah.
Ooh, check out this leaf tree. I think this is the same leaf we just found,
Oh yeah.
but now on the tree. Wow.
I think it might have, the wind might have blew it.
The wind blew one of the leaves off.
Yeah.
Do we want to act like the wind?
Okay.
How are we like the wind? I like it. I like it. Shall we find another pattern?
Yes.
Okay, where to next?
Woo! There.
Where?
There's lots of these polka dots.
Lots of the polka dots now on the ground. Look at the snow polka dotting. Shall we hop like the little dots?
Okay.
Where to now?
I think over there.
What about up? Should we look up?
Yeah.
What do we see
I
here?
sort of see like little poofy things on the cloud.
Poofy things on the clouds. Oh, I wasn't even thinking of the clouds. I was looking up at the tree. But the clouds up above are really poofy.
Yeah.
How would your body shape like a cloud?
Just
Big and poof? What about the tree? How would your body look like the tree? Do you remember the tree pose?
not really.
Put your hands up over your head. One leg up. You gotta balance. Woo! Nice and tall.
No safe.
Snow saved you. I love it. So now we've been like a tree. We've been like a leaf. Like a cloud. What else? Like the snow.
Yeah, I think the snow has a pattern, but you can't
Absolutely.
really see it.
So, Abigail, tell me about how it feels to move like nature.
It sort of feels weird.
A little weird. Need some getting used to.
Mhm.
Let's try and be real silent for a moment and see if we can listen to the nature. You hear anything?
Yeah,
What do you hear?
I hear a little bit of birds tweeting. I hear the tree thing, the tree branches bonking together.
You hear the tree branches bonking together. You know what else I can hear? The snow melting. Makes me feel really peaceful. How about you?
Yeah.
A little peace.
I think there might be a pattern that we can't see on the snow that isn't a little holes in it.
What is it?
It might be itsy bitsy polka dots.
Ooh, shall we take a look at the close snow? You have your magnifying glass?
Oh yeah.
What do you see?
I sort of see little flaky things.
Some snowflakes?
Yeah.
You see each pattern of the snowflake?
It's like they're like going out on each direction.
They go out in each direction like little stars, right?
Mhm.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so nice to find time together with you in nature,
Yeah.
right? Spend a little bit of quality time. What would you tell our friends at church about spending time in nature?
That you should have fun and explore.
Yeah. So I hope you have some chances this week to go outside, have fun, Notice what you see around you. Maybe let your body move to whatever it is you find. Have fun. Take care, everyone.
To this tapestry of a community, we each bring our joys and our sorrows and our milestones, our happy and sad occasions. We know that joy shared is joy expanded, and sorrow shared can feel as though someone is lifting our burden. There will be prompts on the screen that will give better order to our sharing. Feel free to type those things that you are carrying into the chat box. In this virtual space, please remember that privacy cannot be guaranteed. So feel free to get in touch with the minister if there is something too tender to share.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Now is the time in our service that we set aside for prayer, meditation, contemplation, and reflection. So let's take a moment to feel whatever is supporting us, to imagine our connection to the earth, to feel connected to the earth, even if we are separated by flooring, foundation, shoes, chairs, or carpeting. To feel that deep connection to the source of all life. O Spirit of life and love, named and unnamed, but who calls each one of us by our true first name, which is beloved. I give thanks for our community, for the committed individuals who make it up, who make it go, who make it what it truly is. I'm talking about you who are watching this. You are a part of our community. I give thanks for the leaders and the staff of this congregation and our wider denomination. I give thanks too for the small joys and big joys in our life. The things which make us laugh, the things which comfort us, loved ones near and far. In our communities, I know there are those who go without, those who are not sure where their next paycheck is coming from. There are those who go without food, without shelter, without love. May we know their names. May we work to create a more just and loving world. May we work to bend the arc of the universe towards justice, remembering that we live and work on native land. May we work to affirm the worth and dignity of transgender individuals. May we work to affirm that Black Lives Matter. May we work to end all oppressions, even the ones that we don't know about. May we work to bend the arc of the universe towards justice. May we also work for peace. May we be emboldened to bring peace to all of the war-torn parts of our world. Whether it's those in the line of fire of missiles and guns, or the war-torn parts of our community affected by intimate partner violence. May we work to ensure a safe world for all. May we also work, may we be reminded of the fact that we are loved and lovable, not in spite of imperfections, but because of them. And when we put up walls and barriers between others and our authentic selves, and perhaps the divine as well, may we work to dismantle those walls. It begins by saying, I'm sorry. I will do better. And then acting on that. We are each beautiful and also broken. I say these words and do all things for love's sake. Amen. I invite you now to sit in the quiet of your own separate homes, knowing that quiet looks different. Whatever kind of quiet you have, let's take a moment to listen so that we can rest or pray the prayers of our own hearts. As we end our time of contemplation, meditation, and prayer, I invite you to take 3 breaths. The first is a breath for compassion. May we show compassion to others. Our second breath is a breath for compassion as well. A breath of compassion to ourselves. And let's breathe one final breath of compassion for the earth where we live. My colleague, the Reverend Erica Hewitt, writes that the offering we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place, this virtual but very real place, and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something. We value with our gifts, freely given. May we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. The offering will be joyfully given and gratefully received. And this, our life exempt from public haunt, finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. Starling's murmurations consist of a flock moving in sync with one another, engaging in clear, consistent communication, and exhibiting collective leadership and deep, deep trust. Every individual bird focuses on their 7 closest neighbors, and thus manage a larger flock cohesiveness and synchronicity, at times of over 1 million birds. My dream is a movement with such deep trust that we move as a murmuration. The way groups of starlings billow and dive, spin, dance collectively through the air to avoid predators. And it seems to also pass the time in the most beautiful way. When fish move in this way, they are shoaling. When bees and other insects move in this way, they are swarming. I love all of the words for this activity. Here's how it works in a murmuration, shoal, or swarm. Each creature is tuned into its neighbors. The creatures move around in the formation. There might be birds on either side, with 6 fish in each direction. There is a right relationship, a right distance between them. Too close and they crash, too far away and they can't feel the microadaptations of the other's bodies. In the past 20 years, bioacoustic scientists have spent a lot of time listening to different populations of Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphins. These dolphins, like most dolphins, know something about intentional sound, about when to use the high frequencies to find out where they are, and when to use the low frequencies to reach you across this increasing ambient noise. Echolocation and communication overlap, but they also diverge. Sometimes the sounds I make are about measuring my surroundings. Sometimes there is something I need to tell you, and usually it's both. Dolphins use the fat in their foreheads to modulate their biosonar listening, which sounds about as elegant as what I do with you. Which is to say, I am humbly listening, and I am learning to take responsibility for my frequencies. I can lower them to reach you. I can reflect before I speak out. Echolocation is not the same as mind reading. Some of this magic is just the complexity of being a mammal alive in sound. I can hear what I cannot see yet. I can make a whole world of resonance and live in it, swim through it, reflecting you, whistle, click, if you can feel that I am here. In healthy forests, there exists a constant communication between the roots and mycelium, where often the ill or weak or stressed are supported by the strong and the surplus. By which I mean a tree over there needs nitrogen, and a nearby tree has extra, so the hypha, the fungal ambulances ferry it over, constantly. This tree to that to this. In a tablespoon of rich fungal duff are miles and miles of hypha. In trying to articulate, perhaps, what joy is, it has occurred to me that among other things, the trees and the mushrooms have shown me this. Joy is the mostly invisible, the underground union between us, you and me, which is among other things the great fact of our life and the lives of everyone and everything we love going away. If you sink a spoon into that fact, into the duff between us, we will find it teeming. It will look like all the books ever written. It will look like all the nerves in a body. We might call it sorrow, but we might call it a union, one that once we notice it, once we bring it into the light, might become flower and food, might be joy. And this Our life exempt from public haunt finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. The quote that Diane Engel selected as part of her winning the You're Reading My Sermon item in the church auction last year has been a part of my consciousness since 9th or 10th grade, when I had to memorize it in a classical acting summer camp production of As You Like It. And this, our life exempt from public haunt, finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons and stones, and good in everything. As I recite it, I remember the set of a theater, now knocked down and rebuilt on that school campus. It was a summer camp, so the set was built from items of already presented productions in the theater. The costumes were from other productions as well, so we were pretty ragtag, and after all, we were teenagers, so additional ragtagness. I was playing Duke Sr. Diane remembers hearing that speech from the Duke at a production that was at the St. Mark's School, where her husband taught. She remembers that production that the Actors Shakespeare Company did, where the actor delivering those lines stood by a giant, sturdy tree. Trees remind Diane to be sturdy, to be rooted, to remember that the trees that were there long before she was born, and will be there long after she is gone. The quote speaks to the power of finding something good in the face of adversity, and finding lessons in nature, finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. It begins, sweet are the uses of adversity. And boy, are we in a time of adversity, when we could look to nature for some lessons. This time of adversity, as we approach nearly a year of life in the time of Corona, what have we learned about yourself, about your community, about your families, however you choose to arrange them? If we look at what we learned, maybe something good can come from that, which isn't to say that we do away with the pain. If we find a lesson, we cannot look away from the grief. Now, so much of the advice given around the pandemic and about how to cope during this pandemic has been to get outside. So chances are good, if you're anything like me, you've been getting outside a little bit more. You've probably been paying attention. And while the research shows that there are so many benefits of nature, to being in nature, I want to explore this morning, rather, what nature can teach us. When I look at the sources of our denomination, I read them and I think I know how to use most of them. Later in February, we'll look at what we do with the first source, that direct experience of mystery and wonder. But with the sixth source, I wonder, how do I explore it as a sacred text? What do I do with spiritual teachings of earth-centered religions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature? That last source, which is the sixth source I just mentioned, was added in 1995 when our denomination was looking more at paganism and earth-centered religions. So I wonder, how do you live in harmony with nature? If we want to create harmony in music, the best way is to listen. So listen to nature. I think that paying attention to the natural world can help inform how we behave as humans. Now, this isn't a sermon about environmentalism. There are lots of things that I could preach about, and we will preach on those. But this is a sermon rather of a way of using nature to teach us something about being human. So today we are going to talk about biomimicry. This word refers to the practice of natural patterns being used to inspire design and create structures that mimic nature. And most of the time when people refer to this, it's about the use of those natural patterns and structures to create physical objects. But in today's sermon, which is titled Introduction to Biomimicry, I want to imagine how we might be inspired by those structures and apply them to how we organize groups, voluntary associations, governments, and communities. What can we learn from nature, and how do we apply it to our social interactions? The Biomimicry Institute describes it this way. Biomimicry is about valuing nature for what we can learn, not what we can extract, harvest, or domesticate. In the process, we learn about ourselves, our purpose, and our connection to each other and our home on earth. As I read over the literature currently out there on biomimicry, such as some of the sources that we heard from earlier today, from Adrienne Marie Brown's Emergent Strategy, Alexis Pauline Gumb's Undrowned, and Robin Wall Kimmerer's beautiful Braiding Sweetgrass, I note two things. These were all written by authors who are not white. Two of them are black, and one is a citizen of the Potawatomi Nation. I wonder if those of us who are white have taken the command to have dominion over the earth a little too seriously. And instead of noticing how nature can teach us, we focus on commanding it and creating it and shaping it in some way, domesticating it. I wonder also if we lack the stories and the traditions of natural objects. And two, understanding and using biomimicry isn't just something that you do just by looking at trees or watching the birds fly overhead. You have to learn about the structures, and you have to imagine. You have to learn about the science and then let your mind wander with that information in mind. It is a great way to live into and also explore the source of our religion, which is humanist teachings that counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind and the spirit. So what if we lived like the starling and the dolphin and the mycelium? We've heard a little bit about how those live and what patterns we might gain from embracing them as examples earlier. If we were like the starling, we would move through life knowing that there were 6 or 7 other individuals in our lives that noticed and cared for us, and that we noticed and cared for, beyond our families. Every person would be in a small group. We would be constantly aware of and constantly tuning into our relationships with others. We would be adjusting. Adrienne Marie Brown reminds us to get really good at being intentional with where you put your energy, letting go as quickly as you can of the things that aren't part of your visionary life's work. Then you can give your all from a well-resourced place when the storm comes or for those last crucial miles. And if we were like dolphins, we might appreciate our fat. After all, that is how dolphins process the results of echolocation. We might become more adept at how we communicate and more intentional, knowing how to use the words that we have. Thinking, are we using them to communicate or to figure out where we are in our surroundings? To consider how we might pause and reflect and listen and use it to create mental maps of our surroundings and our communities. If we were like mycelium and mushrooms, we would know that there are networks of mutual aid in our communities that move and activate without us ever knowing. It would mean that we would treat the duff around us with respect and care. And now these are just a few examples in these books. Each of these books, Undrowned, Emergent Strategy, and Braiding Sweetgrass, include many lovely meditations on what it could mean to be more human and more humane if we paid attention to the rhythms around us, if we became humble, became more in touch with the humus. So how could you try this for yourself? Well, if you're familiar with the practice of sacred reading or Lectio Divina, this might sound similar. The first step is to find an object in nature and observe it for 5 minutes. And after observing it for 5 minutes, you would take note of 3 things that you keep coming back to. From there, and this is the part where we have to be imaginative, we wonder, how do those things that you noticed illustrate something about being human? Now, the 4th step in this would be traditionally to wonder about and answer the question, what is God saying to you through this object? If God talk doesn't work for you, you can ask yourself, what is the divine or the universe saying to you? Finally is the takeaway. Based on what you have learned, how will you share that? How have you been changed by this experience of sitting with a natural object? I got this from the Reverend Margaret Bullitt Jonas, who's the missioner of creation care for one of the Episcopal dioceses here in Massachusetts, as well as the United Church of Christ. Now, the Biomimicry Institute believes that there are 3 essential steps for biomimicry. The first is emulate, the scientific research-based practice of learning from, then replicating nature's forms, processes, and ecosystems to create more regenerative designs. Then the second part is ethos, the philosophy of understanding how life works and creating designs that continuously support and create conditions conducive to life. And the third one is to reconnect. This is the concept that we are nature and find value in connecting to our place on earth as part of life's interconnected systems. To reconnect as a practice encourages us to observe and spend time in nature to understand how life works so that we may have a better ethos, to emulate biological strategies in our designs. I think we must do this for 3 different reasons. As we become increasingly aware of the damage that we humans have done on the earth, we must look to the living things that have lived here long before we came into existence. I think we also need to look to the natural world, because I feel that our way of organizing and living seems to not be working. I think that for so long we have lived out of tune with the harmonies of nature. We must listen to the nature around us as we work to remove that dissonance from our lives. It won't happen quickly. We're going to have to move those tuning pegs a little bit, like playing an out-of-tune guitar. To be fair, we've been invited to consider what nature can teach us for a long time, and we've forgotten how to do it. Bishop Ambrose, a 3rd century bishop, was riffing off a line from the first chapter of Genesis, the 20th verse rather. Let the water produce living things, and living things were born. Bishop Ambrose says, be like the fish. He is in the sea and he is on the waves. He is in the sea and swims with the swell of the water. On the sea, the storm rages, the winds scream out, but the fish swims. He is not swallowed up because he is used to swimming. To you, the world is the sea. Its current uncertain, its wave deep, its storms fierce. You must be the fish. But the waves of the world do not swallow you. Biomimicry is also a kind of environmental spirituality. Catherine Keller, in her book On the Mystery, which is my favorite book on theology, writes, might we awaken our culture from the sense that the matter at hand, some dull, opaque stuff, some lifeless and unfeeling substratum that we with our computer-like brains manipulate however we please, the materiality of our lives and the mysteries of the subatomic and in astrophysical energies and the urgencies of the flesh, the subtleties of moods, the formation of social roles and the distributions of resources, endangerment of the carrying capacity of the earth, the sacraments of the church bespeak our most spirited interactions. Bottom line, biomimicry and the deep study of nature is about imagination. It's about being playful. It's about reconnecting to that childlike brain of yours. It's also about healing, as Robin Wall Kimmerer writes in her book, Braiding Sweetgrass. Look at the legacy of poor Eve's exile from Eden. The land shows the bruises of an abusive relationship. It is not just the land that is broken, but most importantly, our relationship to the land. As Gary Nobbin has written, we can't meaningfully proceed with healing, with restoration without restoration. In other words, our relationship with the land cannot heal until we tell and hear its stories. But who will tell them? My friends watching this sermon, yes, go into nature, because in the words of David Wagner, if what a tree does is lost on you, then you are surely lost. But go into nature too, because it's fun, and go because there is something that we can learn. Robin Wall Kimmerer explains and believes that we must live in a deeper reciprocity with our world because it will help heal. Let us pledge reciprocity, she writes, with the living world. If what we want for people is patriotism, then let us inspire true love of country by invoking the land herself. If we want to raise good leaders, let us remind our children of the eagle and the maple. If we want to grow good citizens, she writes, then let us teach reciprocity. If we aspire to have justice for all, don't let it be justice. For some, let it be justice for all of creation. May it be so, and amen. Friends, I close with these words of benediction. They are from the Celtic tradition. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the infinite peace to you. As our service concludes, please do extinguish your candles which you lit at the beginning of the service. As they're extinguished, let the smoke waft through the air for just a moment. You're invited to type into the chat as a way of showing your commitment to living this faith, this tradition, this way of being. Type into the chat, I carry the flame, or we carry the flame. Dear one, go in peace.